the beauty of the streets. I found my place to stay, 'cause now I know that you will be here with me. Like a chain of light, guiding me through the darkest night. Everything with you feels right, and tonight we build a chain of lights. Flying high like a chain of light, guiding me through the darkest night. Everything with you feels right, and tonight we build a chain of lights. We build a chain of lights. Let's build a chain of lights. I'm going in. I'm going in, I'ma make so quick. Hold up and you guys make a big page, but when I do big, I mean outrageous. Who you think is dealing with all face? I only run my kings and queens, you know, 'cause I'm the ace by the case. That's right, I said I'm going in. While you out running errands, I'm running this game, I'm in that top spot. Natural born winner, work hard, play harder, come and get it if you wanna, but yo, you better know. I'm going in.
As playoffs inch higher here in the LPL, the stakes get higher each and every time, but today we find out who rises and who falls. We have a lot of playoff contention riding here on the match today. Here in the Shanghai Arena, we're going to be preparing for EDG versus BLG. Now, EDG not doing quite as well as their opponents today. BLG have all but declared themselves ready for the playoffs. EDG have a lot to prove. They're having a bit of a problem now, bringing it back, getting into the playoffs, and it's so important for them. Everyone is so serious, preparing for this series. Meiko on your screen now, just everyone needs to focus up. And you can see varying levels of stress on the players' faces. Everyone is so focused because they know what this means for them. They know that this means their playoff chances are either here or not. Except for iBoy. For him, this means nap time. But you know, I gotta respect that. The less stressed you are, the easier it is to come through in the victory. And BLG there on your screens, they were having a little bit different time. My name is Matt Niberiaclin Daniel, joined here by Clement Chu. And today's matches are really important, yes, but yesterday's matches gave us some interesting information, especially the first series 2-0 from SDG over Victory 5.
V5 not making a great case for themselves. Name a more iconic duo, 50-50 Barons and V5. You can't do it, because that's what they love to do, and Sino Dragons have 2 back-to-back comeback games to take the series.
So surprising from them, a Baron steal even from Xiaopeng like you mentioned, absolutely insane. But I think the more interesting thing here was WE versus TOP. WE came out ahead with a 2-1 victory.
Oh boy, Daddy Mystic is back in town and he's absolutely terrifying. The highlight moment for me in all 3 games was that Mystic put Loken in his place, won the lane super hard all 3 times, and even did it on countered matchups like the Lucian versus Kalista.
9.4 seems to be Mystic's patch. This is where he's ready. This is where he gets to shine, and it's showing in the standings. Look at WE. They are on a meteoric climb up in the standings. Hey, maybe they'll even contend there for that 4th place spot.
And the teams above them and behind them, and Bilibili Gaming and Edward Gaming, have both lost to Team WE. So their position is actually very, very strong. Going forward, they also don't have the most difficult of times in terms of their remaining schedule. So WE are making a run for it.
And Edward Gaming right behind them, of course, today. This is going to determine whether they can make it into playoffs or not. They are in that precarious 8th place position. But also on the docket, we have RNG versus JDG.
Very tough competition all across the board. JD Gaming, known as the RNG Kryptonite for so long, and with RNG looking for that 4th place match, can they actually pull it out? There's a highlight matchup between Uzi and also the Imp. Season 4 reunion.
And if JDG are able to pick this one up, they will secure themselves a spot in playoffs. So this is very important for them for that reason. But our first matchup of the day is going to actually be EDG versus BLG. Now, BLG, of course, are coming off of the very exciting high-stakes RNG versus BLG match, which if you have not seen, I highly recommend. But they're starting their way down the Devil's Path, one of the hardest schedules here in the LPL.
Yeah, and they're actually missing a game right here, is that they still have to go through Invictus Gaming as well. So 4 remaining matches for BLG, and the combined win rate between these teams is 70%. 3 of them already locked into playoffs in IGFPX and TOP. So BLG are facing some really stiff competition, and it's actually very likely that they will not win a single game, match, I should say, past week 7.
That said, I do feel like they've improved quite a bit from last time. You know, when we first saw them coming into the split, BLG, I don't feel were all that strong. We expected them to be a middle-tier team. You have Kuro, you have ADD, some very good players on there, Jinjiao as well, but we weren't sure about Meteor, the untested rookie in the jungle. But I think in recent series, he's really proven himself, especially for that last series versus RNG, and he's really shown himself to have improved quite a bit. Early on in the season, he was going in for weird invades, but now he's looking so strong.
And I wanted to touch a little bit about his style. Meteor, for me, is going to be a runner-up for Rookie of the Split, just behind 369. The way he plays is super interesting. You can see the contrast between him and Clearlove. Basically, there's not going to be a lot of proximity for Meteor and his lanes. He actually likes to stay hidden most of the time. He scales up and he looks for those big team fights. We actually had a previous clip of him getting a quadra kill on the Jax jungle with the Triforce, going in onto enemy AD carries, and he likes to work with the champion picks like Nocturne as well. So he's much more about farming himself up, getting a lead in experience, and then exploding with the rest of the squad in terms of that 5v5.
He's about the damage, rolling it forward. In the RNG series game 1, his Rek'Sai was instrumental in their victory, and throughout the entire game it played a carry role. He wasn't a supportive jungler, he wasn't just using it for the vision, he was picking up kills. He was using his ult and just sniping people out in team fights, and he's been playing so brilliantly. And you compared him to Clearlove. Today we might not see him. Haro is actually going to be the one playing first, but they actually have decently similar styles between the two of them.
Yeah, I would say Haro coming in is a pretty decent surprise for us. Now, EDG did put out a public statement saying that the reason Haro wasn't playing for the previous stretches was because he had to attend to a family emergency, had some affairs there, and he could not actually come back to the game. Now, a lot of people might have forgotten Haro, but Haro was the one that carried EDG throughout the playoff season in 2018. They actually started their series match against JD Gaming, starting Clearlove for 2 games, but after those 2 losses, it was Haro the rest of the way, and Haro delivered. Haro sent them to Worlds. So it's good to see him come back, and we also have to mention that even though we haven't seen him for a while, he does have a very stark difference between him and Clearlove. Clearlove, he doesn't really have the mechanics. He's more about optimizing himself and playing alongside with his lanes. He's going to help you freeze the lanes. He's going to disrupt backs and set up vision, stuff like that. But Haro is mechanically gifted. He played a lot of carries back in the playoffs run, especially Kindred, especially Graves. I want to see him show up on that type of a performance.
The question is if he's still up to that form. When we saw him earlier in the season, he was not looking that strong. He's only played, I believe, 6 games compared to Clearlove's, I think, 19, somewhere in that region.
Played a lot more. So Haro actually came back on EDG, and it was a 2 wins, 3 loss start for Haro. It did not look very good for EDG. They brought back Clearlove, immediate improvement. All the lanes seemed to click better. The laners themselves were saying that, you know, we kind of miss Clearlove at the helm. He's just such an old, grizzled veteran that will help them get over the hump in terms of communication. So there wasn't an immediate improvement over Clearlove, but the question always is, do you still want the old man there? Because he has proven that to be somewhat of a liability when the competition does get rough. You're going up against younger junglers that try to solo you, try to take you out 1v1. You need some mechanical prowess to that position.
Of course, on the other side, there's no lack of mechanical prowess there. ADD in the top lane, the star rookie Meteor in the jungle, Kuro in mid, and Jinjiao and Mini rounding out the bottom lane.
This team is the biggest surprise of 2018. We didn't come in rebuilding, we didn't have a lot of expectations, but they really hit all their marks.
Against EDG, they're going to be having a bit of trouble, though. Ray in the top lane, Haro subbing in for the jungle, back to his original position. Scout and mid, and iBoy and Meiko rounding out the bottom lane.
Biggest thing I want to see is if Haro can still have that synergy with Ray. That was the biggest change when Clear Love stepped back onto the Rift. A lot of ganks being thrown Ray's way, and now we're going to have a team fight stat between the two, a team stat between the two teams. Both are very highly ranked in terms of their jungle control. Bit of a slow-paced team, 11th versus 15th pace. It's much more about the mid-game team fights than the other squads of the LPL.
I think the defining factor here is going to be the point we keep coming back to, which is the jungle differential, not only between the two teams, but on EDG itself. Is Haro's style going to be enough to propel EDG to an earlier lead so that they can get that mid game, so that they can scale it into the late game, or are BLG going to take them down? Because look at that Baron stat, number 4 in the league on Baron percentage at 58.
We're going to see a comparison between ADD and Haro, the two big top laners for both teams. Ray much more on the carry route. He's been playing a lot of stuff like Riven, like the Aatrox, while ADD, your trusty Poppy player in the top side, has a 100% win rate still on the, I'm sorry, not 100% win rate, but a very high win rate still on the champion. Much more about getting into team fights earlier than his opposition.
And I think actually one of the ways we can look at these two players and compare them is their highlights. Ray's highlight this year was the Aatrox flank, where he picked up multiple kills, went in as that damage dealer. But ADD's highlight was that insane Poppy play, where he locked targets down and secured the victory for his team.
Yeah, you look at the solo kills, it also expresses how they play differently in lane. Ray with 15 solo kills, leading the pack for that top side. He's played 8 consecutive different champions so far already. And I want to see how he interacts with Haro. It's going to be the first time we see Haro in a very, very long time, starting since, I believe it was week 3 was the last time we saw him. So it's been a while, and he hasn't really shown up on the English stream as well, but that's the biggest point. Can Haro still keep Ray hot? That's the big question.
Well, I think it's going to be interesting because there's going to be a lot of jungle up in the top lane. Because if you look at the mid laners, you have Kuro, who's kind of safe, but they're going to have a little bit of a difference in the playstyle between them.
Yeah, for sure. That's one of the things that we really want to track. And the way I see this matchup going is that EDG needs to strike first. They are the team with a better GD at 15. They set the lanes up a little bit further, while BLG should have the edge in terms of 5v5 team fighting. That's their forte. They're winning the games based off their rotations, based off their cooperation with each other. But on the other hand, EDG, it's really much more about that jungle lane synergy that has got them this far.
Now we're going to get into pick ban in just a few seconds here. Already, BLG have banned out the Jace and the Vladimir, while EDG are going towards a focus a lot on Meteor's champion pool, just like you pointed out, the Nocturne and the Rek'Sai.
Rek'Sai is the one I love to see people ban on the red side. It really has an amazing win rate. I think it's the best tier 1 champion right now. And you also have to think, BLG, you know, even though Kuro is a big Zoe player, Scout has ample ways to deal with that. A great LeBlanc player himself, and also Lissandra is one of those options that Kuro does have. So it does seem like EDG Scout, they're setting up for a trap and trying to goad Kuro into that Zoe, but Kuro's saying no, I'm gonna actually step back on the LeBlanc. The last time these two players matched was actually at Rift Rivals last year, and Scout showed up huge with a massive solo kill to start the game off.
And now we're looking at the pick ban, and EDG hovering one of the wombo combos available in the league, both Yasuo and Gragas. If you can secure the two of them together, you can get that immediate knock-up into the immediate Yasuo ult, but it looks like instead they're going to be getting Lee Sin here for Haro first.
A very early Lee Sin pick. This reads to me as more of a takeaway champion rather than something that that EDG are really committed to. So they're the strongest jungle mid lane duo we've been seeing right now has been that LeBlanc and the Lee Sin combo, the double Lee combo, so deadly when they start to roam across the map. So trying to take that away from Meteor and Kuro in the mid side. And once again, Meiko going for one of his global champions. This is what he's best known for, is going to provide very good protection for iBoy.
Like you said, a lot of safety for iBoy, and that also takes away the option for BLG, but they're going down a different route. If they lock in this Kalista, that signals a lot of early aggression in the lane. They'll also have objective control, but it looks like instead they're going to be going for the Jarvan for Meteor.
Jarvan, Cataclysm, very easy to kind of lock down people. It's one of the more high priority picks. Pretty interesting that neither side is going for those early AD carry champions. This is different from the past the van drafts that we've seen previously. Usually Lucian is a very high priority for iBoy, but he's going to hold on to that.
Looks like BLG looking for this on-hit Meiko. We've seen this come out a lot, and it's been flexed through multiple lanes. It's a lot of popularity recently, and we are still on 9.4, so the changes haven't come through either for the root or for the attack speed nerf.
And Scout actually is going to pick up the Zoe himself. LeBlanc is considered a hard counter to the Zoe, but we've actually seen both Yagao do this as well against Kuro. They're saying, you know, I don't care if you have the counter pick. I'm going to outplay you, and I'm just going to select the Zoe.
Yeah, Zoe is one of our highest win rate champions here in the LPL. 70%, still over 50 games. That's absolutely insane. And I don't think we've seen this dominance, not even here in the LPL, but in any other region in the world. I don't think we've seen such a consistent pick do so well.
It's really one of those picks, if you snowball, there's no coming back against it. And even with LeBlanc as a counter pick, it's not been doing that hot against it. For BLG, they're trying to take away the double poke composition from EDG, taking away the Ezreal. And for EDG, this is quite interesting. They're going to take away the zoning options, the great zoning tools that can create space for Nico to pop off, so taking away the Braum and the Gameplank.
Given that those are both off the table, what would you expect BLG to prioritize here as the support position?
I think this is interesting because BLG still have the Poppy in their hands, while EDG are basically saying that we have a very good counter to the Poppy. We're not going to reveal it to you, but we definitely have that card in our hands, which is interesting. I honestly think this is a setup trap from EDG's side. They're trying to goad BLG, trying to goad ADD to go into that matchup, and they definitely have something prepared.
There's iBoy picking up that Kai'Sa. Also a very good win rate there, 56%. It's been picked up a lot here in the LPL. Just absolutely dominant in the later stages of the game. But again, you look at what it's up against. That on-hit Nico also has insane damage scaling later. It looks like BLG might be going for some priority in the top lane towards a defensive sort of engage potential champion.
The key thing for BLG's composition is that they need to create space. Nico is a champion with frankly not a lot of range options. She doesn't extend her auto attack range by any way, so you need a beefy front line to push it forward and allow that Nico to deal all the damage possible. And you can see those are the picks that they're going after. Alistar, a great option after Braum isn't there anymore, and Sion, also one of the ADD's best champions.
It also just does well in lane as well. You have to talk about creating space. Oh, okay.
Oh, this is the answer. This is the prepared answer we're seeing. So I believe this is the first time that we've actually seen Ray pick this up, taking a page out of Zoom's book. And it's a great matchup against the Sion. Nothing the Sion can really do. And post level 6, you can't even kill the Swain anymore. He just gets to be that massive split pushing option later on.
And that's going to cause problems for BLG here. If they're not able to stick in this lane, what options do they have left? The LeBlanc is able to roam, but what about the Sion?
Of course, Sion's going to have his lane pushed in most of the time. I think he's just going to be there for the team fights. LeBlanc's still going to have options with the Jarvan, but the Lee Sin's also quite a good counter to the Jarvan. It's actually very difficult to land your EQ combo. If you just see him in the river, he has the ward hops to get away from you. High mobility champions like that. So I really do favor EDG's draft a little bit. I feel like their top side is much better constructed, and they also have the Kai'Sa to match the late game team fighting of the Nico.
Feels like a lot of their draft was around shutting down what BLG were putting on the table, trying to deny their win conditions, but how do they set up the win conditions of their own? How do they win other than denying BLG, or is that all they need to do?
Well, I think if we go back to the general idea of the win conditions between these two teams is EDG wants to strike earlier. They have technically the better laning phase. They have more explosive lanes in towards the top BLG, they're not really looking at the laning phase. They never really have. They're looking at the big 5v5 team fighting phase, and they're really well set up for that. They have a great front line in Alistar and Sion. It's all about Meiko getting to her damage spots, getting to her 2 items where she can really start throwing the damage in and just taking over the 5v5. So 2 different contrasting styles. BLG, much more about the mid-late game. EDG want to pick it up early.
And if EDG are able to, BLG will never make it to that mid-game state and will be finding their way to a quick game loss. We'll see who is able to come out victorious in game number 1 of BLG versus EDG. EDG fans out in force today, Clement.
Yeah, really big match for EDG. If they lose today, very high chance that they're not going to make it into playoffs. Their remaining matches still contain the likes of Invictus Gaming and TOP. So these 2 teams have the toughest remaining schedules left. Whoever really drops here, we might not see them.
Which is such a scary proposition for all of these players. And Haro, a lot of weights on his shoulders.
Checking in, he is going to be with the Conqueror's Lee Sin, the mainstay these days. Not even the Electrocute has been seen recently.
Yeah, I'm liking the massive amount of Conqueror we're seeing coming out here, Clement. It's just kind of fun to see a little bit of variety into the jungle keystones, but Meteor is actually going to be going for the Electrocute, which we haven't seen as much on the Jarvan, so both junglers going for a slightly different pathing. And
this is so cute.
Both top laners,
This is so fun. Like, both of them are waiting for each other to use their abilities from the brush. They don't want to walk out there and give them a 2-for-1 where they can hit the minion wave and their own person at the same time. So both of them just hiding in the brushes.
It's the most innocuous and slightly dangerous game of hide-and-seek I have ever seen played out, Clement. Looks like both of them will eventually make it to lane, and Ray going for the Kleptomancy there. Going to get himself a bit of early gold, as opposed to ADD, who's going to be going for the Unsealed Spellbook.
Just taking a closer look at the actual jungle starts, it's actually pretty interesting from EDG's side. They have Haro starting off with a small leash onto the red and heading towards the bot side. Crud Camp usually does give you an advantage in the EXP range. And for the top side, you see Meteor. I'm sorry, I always try to call him Metoer, but that's a typo. He wants to be pronounced Meteor. Is actually going to be heading towards the top side, and honestly, the early phases of the game is when you can punish Swain. Swain as a mage champion has very low base armor stats, and Sion can still match the push early on. So maybe they're going to be looking to put a little bit of pressure on Ray. You can see the way Ray is responding. He's not really trying to get a hard push on yet.
Well, it was a good play from EDG to ping out the position of Meteor. They knew he was going to have to be taking those wolves if he wanted to just farm it out. They knew he had the Scuttle Crab. So now it's going to be up to Meteor to get this game rolling in the top lane, like you say. He's now level 4 with double buffs, and instead they're looking for Scout, but Scout is trying to get vision of his own in the bottom side of BLG's jungle, which will leave Meteor high and dry.
Just taking a look at the bottom side, actually a very confident buy from iBoy. Typically, Nico isn't the strongest champion trading in lane, doesn't have a lot of abilities to trade with, while on the Kai'Sa's end, she does have that Icathian Rain that she can weave in between auto attacks. So we see iBoy actually going for the culling, saying that, you know what, I can rely on this item, get me faster in my item spikes. I'm not actually that pressured against this matchup.
Ooh, ADD going for a real aggressive move up there to get the ward, going to give himself a little bit more vision. And bot lane, we see it engage, but it's denied once again by the Tahm Kench, and this shows the strength of this pick.
I really want to see if the Kai'Sa does go for the Blade of the Ruin King build that we've been seeing recently. It works really well when the enemy team presents you with a lot of tanky front lines, and frankly, that's BLG's composition. They have the Alistar, they have the Sion later for the team fighting. You don't get as much dueling or backline potential as the Infinity Edge start, but we've been seeing guys like Imp pick it up, and it's been working out quite well for them.
We've even seen some solo kills with that build, Clement, so it's got a lot of evidence backing it up, at least here in the LPL. As you said, But now we're going to be looking towards the lanes here because Meteor still has not gone for a top lane gank, which is when Swain is going to be at the weakest. You know, he's out of mana in the top lane, but instead Meteor prioritizing this Ocean Drake early on.
Yeah, that's going to be very consequential. They spotted out where Haro is. Level 5 Jarvan, no problem. Lane priority in the bot side as well. And that's really going to make life a lot easier for the Scion. He's not going to have to be constantly harassed down, as well for the bot lane as well. 5-minute early Ocean Drake. Tremendous for BLG's lanes.
Yep, great in mitigating the poke. So now they're going to have that on the table. And the next one as well is going to be an Ocean Clement. So maybe the triple Ocean will come up. And in that case, if you ever have any extended skirmishes that have a break in it, BLG would come out ahead.
Yeah, such a great early ward from EDG. Look how much they got from that. Complete bot side control. Lee Sin only gets a Krug off of that top side in return.
But he's going to be looking here for the top gank. He got through the top side of the jungle entirely undetected, but looks like instead he's deciding to back off, thinking better of it. They don't have vision on Kuro's LeBlanc, so that may be a fear, but Kuro has now picked up one part of his item.
Most importantly, they just don't have the mana to really take down the Scion at this point. Smart idea to back away.
Ray still struggling with the mana sustain in this lane. Despite having Klepto, hasn't really lucked out with the procs, not able to get a mana potion. But ADD, like you said, now that he has that Ocean Drake, not only is he denying the problems of being shoved in with damage, he's not having problems with mana anymore. Alongside the Corrupting Potion, alongside the Minion Dematerializer, boy's got push for days.
Yeah, that matchup is pretty normal to see this outcome for the early phases, but you have to remember Swain is a much better scaling champion in the lane, at least, against the Scion. So we should be expecting after this first gank for Ray to start taking control of the lane, and for Lee Sin and Haro to pay more attention to him on the top side.
Well, Haro's picking up the red buff now, so this may be his point to transition towards the top side. Of course, Catalyst has been picked up for Ray, giving him a little bit more sustain. But on the other side, ADD is just focusing so hard on not getting poked out, not getting shoved down.
You can see the first real gank coming in. Sleepy Trouble Bubble lands, and
Kuro.
still more damage.
Kuro's going to make it out of there, though, but did lose half of his health. He's going to have to burn most of his charges of the Corrupting Potion to get himself back up to full. Meanwhile, this will free up Haro to move around the map a little bit. He's not going to go for the opportunity, though. Meiko roamed up, didn't find anything, maybe looking for a 3v3. So Haro back to farming, has hit level 6. He has the Dragon's Rage, he has the Flash. Doesn't have Trinket Ward just yet, but he'll be there soon.
I mean, so far so good for BLG. They kept all of their lanes safe. No early ganks coming in from Haro to disrupt the scenario. And this is, they have a very good teamfight composition to really sit onto. So what EDG really have to do is they have to kind of pick the pace up. They don't really want to be facing this composition on even ground.
To be fair, though, the bottom lane is doing a little bit better, but mid lane still trying to look for Kuro. He has the distortion to jump back to, but wherever he goes, he's going to be in trouble. Making Scout go under tower for it will not take a tower shot because Meiko's there, but that does mean Meiko's roam didn't get a whole lot done.
And this is what EDG love to do. They like ganking for Scout. A lot of jungle proximity shown by Clearlove as well in that lane. One of the highest jungle proximities between the jungle and the mid lane for any of the LPL teams. And once Scout gets moving, they can then pressure it into the enemy buffs. This is something that Aaron always told his rookie players, his new mid laners, is that when you're playing around the mid lane, it's not really just about the mid lane itself. It's the square that is formed by the 4 buffs. You have to play within this area. You have to think of the game within this area, and that's what they're starting up to do.
Well, like you said, though, BLG are holding on pretty well in the early... Oh, no. Kuro is just getting chain ganked at this point.
Yeah,
Both
and
he and
Meteor's
Meteor
gonna fall for it.
Oh, they're in so much trouble if they're not aware of this.
Let's Sleepy Trouble. Oh, he dodged
Not
it.
going to land. Oh, Meteor. Good micro dodging out the gank. Will reveal Haro's position as well, so that's a lot of wasted time for the jungler of EDG, and you see it reflected in the farm. He's down roughly 8 CS, and now in the bottom lane, Jinjiao's been given a lot of room to push. Without having Meiko there, there's not a whole lot of threat for him. So he's just shoved down, and now he's gotten a tower plating on top of it. And Ocean Dragon, the second one of the game, going to be up in just 40 seconds.
And the only one to pay the price right there was the bot side from EDG. They lost 1 tower plating with Meiko roaming around the map, trying to find that kill or that potential blue invade. Doesn't happen. However, iBoy, if you look at his CS score, he's sitting very pretty here. He's going to go for the Infinity Edge build, the more standard build composed as opposed to the Blade of the Rune King. And the big question is, are EDG going to try and contest this second Ocean Drake? My guess is probably not really. They're kind of behind in the bottom side. The sustain working out very well for BLG's bot lane. And their composition is looking more for the picks as well. So maybe they just they will probably just sequester this.
Well, the more times they seed it, the better a chance ADD has.
Ooh.
Oh, he stole it!
Oh, Haro didn't have the smite.
Oh my God! That was just the first blood dunk coming in from Jarvan.
Yeah, and I can't believe that sequence actually happened. So you can see the timing not really there between Scout and Haro not understanding that Meteor was right around the corner for that play as well. A 1-2 punch from BLG taking away the blue buff and the first blood as well.
Here's the third hit. Hat trick coming in. Oh, good dodge out by iBoy with the killer instinct.
Are
but
they
ADD
out,
is
though?
still here. Not going to be able to get the knockup, but Minnie's going to be able to. Knocks him back. Pop Blossom gets both of them. And now that's a dead 80 carry, a dead support on the back of it as well. Meteor going to live. Goes golden.
Comes
Haro
in.
looking for the kill. Gets
Doesn't
the
get
kick
the
on
kick.
the Mini. And there's the kill onto the support of BLG, but they pick up 2 on the back.
Yeah, and there's no punish coming in from EDG. Scout is still dealing with the minion wave from the previous section, but oh wow, this is like a playground for him.
Oh,
so
no.
many flashes. Cannot get the find onto BLG.
That was one speedy mid laner right there, but Scout still not able to find it with the double heal and the flash. So now he's going to be stuck there in the bottom side a little bit. Worth noting, the Ocean Drake is still up through all of this, but BLG have started forming an early game lead against a team whose goal is to prevent exactly that.
Man, you really don't expect the early Scion racetrack in the bot side. They didn't see him for a while. Scott was Ray was up top lane. He said, oh no, I'm just going to sit here and take that turret plating. And the bot lane really paid the price for that. Great play on Meteor in both of those instances. He was there for the collapse as well, hanging around that side, even though there was no camps. He said, you know what, we have the Scion coming in. We're going to go for the big fight. It was really well played by Meiko at the start of it. iBoy hang on to his flash just to have Meiko get him there, but even better played coming out from BLG. They timed it perfectly. They got both of the stuns there, and Haro coming in, only able to get one back.
Yeah, Jinjiao with the flash Pop Blossom was such a great play, going so aggressive on that 80 carry, knowing that his team was there to back him up. Just shows the amount of faith BLG have in their team. And why not? I mean, they've been having a great season, and now they're looking to take down EDG, cement themselves in the playoff contention. And they're doing so well. Look at Jinjiao now. He's gotten the 3rd turret plating in the bottom lane, soon to be the 4th. He's looking really good on this Nico in the early game.
Yeah, but we just saw a pop-up right there on the left side. Nico 0 for 5 in the last 5 Nico games. Now, we do have to mention that Nico, even though she's very powerful, if you compare her DPS, she's probably one of the best AD carries. She does have a lot of problems in the team fighting. It's very easy to focus her down. If she gets hit by Sleepy Trouble Bubble, if she gets outranged, which EDG's composition does very well, it's very hard for her to step up and do damage.
Well, I mean, it's all about the creating space in the team fight, like you said in Champion Select, and I think if you're going to trust any top laner to be able to do that, it's going to be ADD. That's what his highlight reels are. They're not him going 1v5 getting a ton of kills. They're him going in 1v5, locking down carries, taking away threats, and making sure his team has space to get the better end of the fight.
Just a recap on what happened in the game so far, we did see EDG proactively trade sides with BLG. They did get the first tower gold down because of how much damage Swain was doing it towards the top side, and they also pick up the Herald. So I would actually say EDG now are in the gold league with that move.
Well, they're just a little bit ahead. They've got the Tempo of the Herald still available, plus that tower down on the outer, as you mentioned. So Haro's going to have to figure out whether he wants that mid, whether he wants a bot, or maybe to pressure the tier 2. Wouldn't recommend that personally.
Huh. Very interesting build coming in from iBoy. This is the Storm Razors was buffed on 9.5 for extra base stats, but you can hit your QE faster at the same time. But we are still playing on patch 9.4.
Yeah, so I mean, part of it makes sense, right? Because you've got the Evolve with just the Berserker Greaves, Recurve Bow, and Storm Razor Pickaxe, which is a lot of items. I know I listed a lot, but it's fairly cheap. Plus, with the trading in the early game from the Storm Razor on-hit damage, it's pretty decent. However, it does put you a little bit behind until you get those evolves, because Storm Razor as a first item compared to things like the Eye Edge, like even Rage Blade, I feel, aren't as strong.
Yeah, and I wonder if iBoy is just going to hang in there and try to still go for the similar strategy. We do have to remind everyone that this is patch 9.4. Storm Razor does not get the extra 5 AD, so you're not going to get that Q evolve with just the Doran's Blade sitting in your inventory. So he will have to go for a little bit more items for that actually to be the case. And it's going to be the first time that we actually see a Storm Razor start in the LPL on patch 9.4.
Well, and it makes sense a little bit more now why he went for the Cull. If you know you're going for a build that's already going to put you a little bit behind in the damage chart, why not go for a little bit more farm?
Well, on 9.4, on 9.5, you actually only hit those breakpoints with the Doran's Blade, and the Cull actually doesn't give you that much AD. So
I think it's like 8 or something. It's pathetic.
Yeah. So this is a bit of a weird build. I want to see how he navigates it. He's not going to hit the same breakpoints as you would on 9.5. That's for sure.
Interesting start here to the build for iBoy, but like you said, we have to see how it goes because we have 2 AD carries who, at the very least, scale better into the late, and Jinjiao's better off in the items so far. Haro now dropping the Rift Herald in the middle lane.
Really like this timing from EDG. They see both of the members from BLG moving towards the side lanes. They think they have a good chance into a 5v3 scenario, but they do have to be very aware of the flanks. ADD is collapsing.
He's got Ghost, he's got ult, he is one spooky lumberjack. Scout looking in, trying to get the kill, but isn't able to land the sleepy trouble bubble, and the mid tower will stay alive for BLG.
Gets a good hit on a Haro for good measure.
Pop the Ghost, Kuro looking for the chain, not able to find it. Ray trying to pull in Mini, was able to do so. Scout not quite able to kill anyone, but Jinjiao and Mini both down below half.
Now that was still a very comfortable position for EDG. They do have the stopwatch on Ray, and of course Devour over the wall should be able to keep him safe. I really don't fancy BLG's chances for continuing to push this, and you can see Ray also holding on to the Demonic Ascension. Knows that BLG probably won't go for a full engage. He can save that for another day.
BLG, though, doing fairly well in that engage. They were able to save their tower, make sure nothing else happened. And 40 seconds remaining until Cloud Drake. So not Triple Ocean just yet, Clement, but there is the potential for them stacking that up. They are a late game team, so going towards the Elder Dragon, that'll help out a lot. And ADD has also finished up his Adaptive Helm, so he's getting pretty beefy.
Yeah, definitely is going to be a difficult target to take down for the rest of the EDG members. EDG right now are pretty much still waiting on Kai'Sa for her damage to really scale up at this point. They're not going to venture too hard into this dragon fight, I assume. I would think with the side lane advantages that BLG currently does enjoy, BLG should be able to set up first around the Drake.
We'll lose the mid tower, though, in the meanwhile.
Oh, never mind.
Haro not going to be able to land the Q, mistiming it only slightly. And doesn't look like anyone from BLG is going to respond to this just yet. Pings are going down, but it is being done so quickly. EDG will pick that one up. But I am a little bit concerned for them, Clement, because we talked about them being an early game focused team, them wanting to get the lead into BLG, and it's 18 minutes in. They don't have a gold lead. Yeah, they have one tower more, and they've picked up their first Drake of the game, but into BLG, who are scaling late, this is a little bit concerning.
Yeah, EDG is going to have to rely on their own reach in the team fights to equalize this. They do have a split pusher in the top side with Ray. They can use that to gain more uneven number advantage team fights. But I think it's still going to come down to the 5v5 for BLG. They're a great Baron taking team. We saw that in the early stats. Number 5, 5th place in the LPL for securing that big objective. So I think BLG really needs to outplay. They need to find a way for Haro to maybe touch the Nico, or for Ray to find a great E into the backline. Just bring her forward that way.
It's going to be harder and harder for them to get good team fights, though, because you look at the itemization. Meteor has just finished his Guardian Angel, so he's going to be real confident on those engages, and ADD potentially working towards maybe a Locket. We've seen it before, but he has options on that build as well. So this is a lot of beefiness, a lot of space-making potential coming in from the itemization of BLG. So the time is closing out for EDG.
I really like the build from Meteor. I think going GA first is exactly what you want to do. You're going to be going in, you're just trying to disrupt the enemy team from walking forward onto Meiko. That build is going to keep you alive. You're not going to have to give over the gold bounty. It's going to allow you to play much more aggressively. We typically do see the Black Cleaver with the Warriors as the second item picked up, but this time around, Meteor knows his role very well in the team fight. It's just to create space.
Now BLG trying to get some vision into the red side of EDG. The Baron is now alive. They're not going to go for it just yet. Meteor has spotted out the ward from EDG, however. They're just actively trying to create space for themselves around the Baron, get the vision down, and maybe take down this outer.
You can see EDG really can't take a fight right now. Still waiting on Kaisa items to evolve. Just to make a small note, these two teams, they know each other very, very well, so it's not surprising that they will be able to play around each other's styles. We were talking about BLG actually still have their gaming house right across the street from EDG. They're connected in the same complex. BLG started out as EDE, the development squad for EDG.
Yeah.
They're quite chubby with each other.
Yeah, they're buddy-buddy.
Sorry.
I mean, one of them's going to have to kill the other here, so there's only so buddy-buddy you can get. It's sort of like a Caesar-Brutus relationship rather than like a buddy comedy, but they're still friends. You know, they're still close. Now EDG trying to get the scaling down onto iBoy. I believe he should have his Q evolve by now after picking up the pickaxe, but will still not have that E evolve just yet. So they're waiting on that, and the longer they go, the better BLG is going to look because the tank stats are coming out. The space-making potential is there from BLG, and Dragon's going to be an important objective for them to play around. Mountain Drake coming up in a minute 30 as well, so that could be the first port of call so that they get a better chance of taking down the Baron quickly.
Already setting up for it very strongly by BLG. They don't have necessarily the best catch potential, however, so it's going to be very hard for BLG to actually trap EDG coming into it. We see this a lot by actually EDG. What they love to do is they like to sweep out all the wards and just have a one-shot kill combo in one of these bushes, and when you walk past them, they spring up on you like a Venus flytrap. But I don't think BLG really has that option. You're just trying to add pressure to EDG.
Well, the longer they go without making an engage, the longer they go where Jinjiao is scaling. The longer they go where they're working towards their late game goal. ADD gets tankier. Everyone else gets better at making room, and Jinjiao just gets to shine. So far, 2 items, working towards the third. Looks like it'll be a Wit's End coming out from him, which we don't see, well, quite as often on the Nico, but it is commonly built. Gonna go for that instead of the Rumin's Hurricane at this point in the game. But iBoy, he's still not even at 2 items.
I think the Wit's End makes sense in this situation because he's mainly afraid about the potential for Swain to one-shot him, one-shot her, I should say. So trying to get that extra magic resist steal and also buff up her on hit damage at the same time does work great. We do see the Hurricane as the main option for Nico as a 3rd item, though.
BLG maybe looking for a pick towards this Dragon Pit. It's just spawned now, so they have the potential to take it if they so choose. Instead, looks like they want to keep the pressure around the Baron. They know if they're off the map for too long, they risk losing it to EDG. Kuro's just going to be there by himself zoning, while Meteor and Jinjiao go and try and take the Mountain Drake all on their own.
I think the things that went wrong for EDG is that they really didn't control any early game tempo. Kuro got away with the laning phase against Scout, which I frankly think was EDG's game plan going into this. Just try to have a very strong jungle mid duo, try to catch them out, try to punish the buffs, but that didn't happen on their end. And on the flip side, their bot was taken very early on. Kaisa scrambling for farm and items across the map. Now BLG have the majority of the map control, but they are stuck in this position.
ADD taking pretty much no damage from that, but he will ult away. Doesn't want to get engaged on over the wall. It's an important engage tool now missing from BLG. So if EDG were to take a fight, that's a knockup missing from ADD. It's a fairly certain engage. So BLG just going to back off away from the Baron a little bit, and this will give EDG time to clear out the ward patterns. And they might be setting up a bait of their own.
Jinjiao was great on the Meiko in the RNG series, but the main problem he had, he was sniped from his own backline, hijacked and kidnapped away by Karsa's Zac. This time around, Haro's going to be looking for that same exact play. We can see EDG inching into the river, trying to get some vision onto the blue side of BLG. They found a great timing where they're forcing BLG to converge on this Baron. LeBlanc and Sion haven't had the opportunity to really push any of these side waves, but BLG are actually going to call the bluff on them.
Yep, red buff picked up for Jinjiao. He's backing now, so should be able to pick up his wit's end. And this game has slowed down pretty significantly. EDG, like we were saying early, didn't really get a whole lot done. I feel like Haro could have pressured the other lanes much more heavily. He spent a lot of time around mid. And with that, not getting anything out of that, despite repeated efforts, you let iBoy get behind. You let them not have a dominating lead. You let Ray just deal on his own with ADD. And now they're in this position where Ray is too tanky. Jinjiao has too much damage for iBoy to deal with. It's hard for them to dig themselves out of the hole they put their own selves into.
Yep, EDG are still scrambling for items. This is a very, very quiet game on their end. A lot of good things being done by BLG early. I think the double Ocean Drakes definitely helped. And Haro didn't get to play much of a laning phase whatsoever. Once his first blood went down, it was a straight up side trade from both teams, and that ganking potential from Lee Sin really didn't show up this game. And we were talking about the identities between these two squads. BLG much more noteworthy for their team fighting prowess.
They're going to have an easy time setting it up too because they have the better engage. The only thing that EDG can do is try and get a pick like this. Mini. Oh, Meiko. I think he just trolled his mid laner a little bit there, Clement. And now Haro going to be on the wrong side of that engage. Gets picked off, and now that is no smite available for the Baron if BLG want to go for it.
Yeah, they definitely should use this opportunity to start. Kuro's still full health. They have the Ocean Drake if they want to do an extended dance. They're going to go for it.
EDG trying to look in, don't have any vision onto the side. Sleepy Triple Bubble goes in, but doesn't land on anyone. 3,000 remaining
has the smite
on the Baron. He has the smite.
Can he go
500?
in?
No, not going to go for it. And Sleepy Trouble Bubble will try and get vision or anything off that, but BLG walk away with the Baron and no casualties.
Yeah, Haro showing up a little bit rusty with his teammates this game. Second time he was caught out, instantly popped by Meteor. And BLG, all of that control around the Baron Pit finally does pay off. Let's watch it again. I believe Haro was going for the ward. No, it's not worth it. No ward is ever worth dying for.
Not like this. What happened to iBoy?
He just met Kuro in a brush, that's it.
Yikes.
Had to burn his flash as well.
Oh my god. Kuro is such a monster on this side. Chunked down Haro to half now as well. But EDG going to send a bunch of members up here, so Kuro just going to be pushing. But now, BLG have the Baron buff. They have Sion in the bot lane. They have LeBlanc in the top lane. 1-3-1 starting to form. What are they looking to do with this Baron?
Well, honestly, they have wave clear pressure in all three lanes. They can just ride this 1-3-1 out until they reach one of the inhibitor towers. I suspect that's what they're going to do. For EDG, I think their game plan is going to be revolving around collapsing on the mid side. That's the standard answer against 1-3-1. You try to get the 3-man.
Mini almost spotting out Haro there, but Haro will walk away. And now, BLG just relaxing into it a little bit. They know they have time to breathe. It's feeling good. And ADD actually is starting to look a little bit like a support with that build. He's picked up the redemption.
And congratulations, iBoy, you finally got the Q evolve. There we go. Welcome to 9.4, or welcome back to 9.4, I should say. A lot of our players do play in the Korean server. They do get mixed up sometimes.
It's kind of a shame, though, because iBoy hasn't gotten a whole lot done in these fights as a result of his build.
No, honestly, I really like what BLG has done with their lane allocations. If you look at the lanes themselves, they aren't actually that far ahead, but the way they're able to play the 1-3-1 is they just have better wave clear potential. The LeBlanc You can't really track her down with the Zoe. She can clear with Distort a lot easier, and the same thing goes for the Sion. He doesn't win the 1v1 matchup necessarily, but he's able to play the 1-3-1.
Yeah, and as you said, LeBlanc by herself just then able to take down the inhibitor tower in the top lane. ADD pressuring down onto it in the bottom lane. iBoy's looking to stop him, but honestly, ADD is so unbelievably beefy at this point. I don't feel like there's a whole lot he's going to be able to get done. Now, BLG just continuing to pressure onto the inhibitor top side. 1-3-1 still going strong. And EDG have to respond to the top side, and that's time they're not spending on the bot lane tower, so it's going to fall. That's time they're not spending on the mid lane tower, so now it's going to fall. All three inhibitors exposed for EDG now.
BLG just running such a clinic on Edward Gaming. They can't really find the engages. They don't have necessarily a lot of tools to even get themselves into the fight. And BLG have been avoiding all of these altercations perfectly, splitting up their members, throwing different looks. Kuro is basically playing a 1v2 this entire time. And you have to remember, iBoy's not going to step up here. The last time they faced each other, it was a straight flash away.
Well, that's triple inhibitor right there, Clement. That's pretty much game already. It's so hard to come back from this, but it's not over yet. The third ocean, however, is looking mighty juicy for BLG, so they might be able to get the triple ocean finally. There's not much else for them left to do on the map.
I've never seen EDG lie down in a game like this. This is do or die for them. They still have IG and TOP up on the menu. If they do not win here, their eighth place spot is most likely going to be taken over by Sino Dragons.
Well, here's the question then. This is do or die. What do they do this game? Is there anything left for them to claw their way back? I mean, there's Azonias on Ray, so they have that playmaking potential there in a team fight if they're able to find it. But even if they do, what do they have left for them?
Well, they still have the Nexus. That's pretty much it, honestly. They have no map control. Triple inhibitor is down. BLG just have so much time to waltz their way into the next Baron anyway. It's coming up in 90 seconds. That's not going to be enough time for EDG to get any of their inhibitors back.
Jinjiao as well now has the Runin's Hurricane, so he's going to be putting out a ton of AoE damage, ton of on-hit single target. It's going to be hard to shut down, and if they don't, his teamfights are going to be looking bad. They're trying to get a pick onto Meteor, but he still has his GA, Clement. And this is just super minion wave after super minion wave, 2 per wave, pouring into the base of EDG.
Look at the damage Scout just took there. Half health with just the chains on Kuro. Forces out the redemption early. We have seen a comeback between OMG and Suning, down 10k. They were able to claw themselves back. EDG, they're only down 4. If they take a straight up 5v5, they could still do it.
But Kuro is so confident. You saw him there on the top side just 1v4ing, casually distortioning, not even distortioning back, because he knows once EDG engage, if they don't get the kill, that's going to happen. There goes
Haro
Ray.
doesn't find it.
Haro tried to look for the kick, and now he's on to Jinjiao, but iBoy doesn't have the damage. Jinjiao's able to take him out. Haro left by his lonesome in the backside there against Kuro. BLG pushed up to the Nexus, both Nexus towers down. It's looking like this is going to be lights out for EDG as BLG pick off Haro and pick up the win in game number 1.
That was such a dominating performance. When we talk about BLG, we say that they're a coach's favorite team, and that's how you play a Korean macro-oriented style of League of Legends. Only 8 kills happening that game. That's less than 33% of the average that you see in the LPL. Not looking for a confrontation, just using the wave clearing potential in the top side and the bottom side to slowly gain over map control, and only a few missteps from EDG were enough to cost them that game.
And on the side of BLG, they didn't really seem to do a whole lot wrong. This game felt like it was a little bit handed to them in the fact that Haro wasn't able to get the ganks off early. He spent so much time mid and wasn't able to get anything out of it. Like, look at that gold graph. You can see once BLG started the scaling, EDG never really took it back.
Yeah, a lot of things going wrong for EDG. First of all, their bot lane really collapsed way too early on. No safe spaces for Kaisa to really farm up into. And also going for a questionable item build. It really delayed her evolves with the second skin, not noticing that it was still patch 9.4. And unfortunately for them, they do fall down in what is a must-win match for them.
Now they are down 1. And EDG, this is their playoff hopes on the line here. They're 5-6, so if they're not able to pick up this one, things are getting really dangerous for them. If they get to 5-7, it's only 3 games left of the season. The best they'll be able to do is 8.
Yeah, that's definitely a big problem for EDG. And I think the main thing we take away from this game is that BLG as laners, they're too good to be cracked open. EDG were looking at the laning phase saying, you know, we've got the Zoe and Lee Sin combination that's so good at sniping out people in the jungle portions of the jungle, and the top side we also have the Swain just to push the lane in. We should have 2 solid lanes, a top side to play towards, but none of that actually materialized. They actually were forced by BLG to go into lane swapping, to play more of a map-wide game. They never found the edge with the Zoe, and BLG just rode on that wave, went smoothly to the 5v5 team fighting with map control, and you could see what they could do.
Well, speaking of that top lane a little bit, I want to ask, you know, that was supposed to be a winning matchup for Ray, and he's got some of the most solo kills in the entire region. He's got 15 solo kills to his name. In a winning matchup, he wasn't even able to get 1 kill. What went wrong? Was that on Ray? Was that on Haro? Was that on EDG's draft?
I think it was mainly on how fast they just lost map control. If you think about the way the map was positioned, EDG were forced to then swap their bottom lane top, and then Ray had to walk towards the bottom half of the map. Now just remember, BLG were just there. They just took down the towers, they just took down the Drakes. He's going into that side of the map alone. He doesn't have any vision. He sees the Sion constantly pushing up against him. He cannot fight back. That part of the map belongs to BLG. So he was put into a bad position just from the early plays that BLG made.
What do you want to see from EDG here in their draft in game number 2?
I think what they have to change is they have to have a full spectrum strategy. It can't just be about cracking specific lanes. You have to match them, BLG, and scaling somehow, and you have to have a 5v5 team composition where you look at it and you go like, okay, this team comp has an even chance against what BLG is playing. The ball is in BLG's court. BLG will most likely decide it in the middle, in the mid game, and EDG has to step up to that.
And BLG looking really clean. We'll see if EDG is able to do anything about it, or if BLG will take the easy 2-0 in just a bit.